Live, getting results. This is News 6 at 4.
Now at 4, News 6's driving change push becomes a reality. Governor Ron DeSantis signs the distracted driving bill into law. The bill now makes texting and driving a primary offense. This is News 6 at 4. I'm Ginger Gadsden.
I'm Julie Broughton.
And I'm Lisa Bell. The new law means officers can now pull you over if they catch you typing on your phone while your car is moving. News 6 has advocated for more than 2 years for stricter texting and driving laws in Florida. Our push to get results began in 2016 after News 6 anchor Matt Austin was rear-ended by a distracted driver. Every legislative season, we travel to Tallahassee following distracted driving bills, and year after year, they failed to pass until this year. News 6's Matt Austin is back from Sarasota, where the law was signed this morning. So, Matt, what was it like to be there to witness this bill finally being signed into law?
I can barely believe it, ladies. It feels like Kia has been lifted off of my shoulders. We found out yesterday evening this bill was being signed today in Sarasota. So my producer and I left the station after the 11 p.m. news so we could be in place early this morning. We got there about 2 a.m. The governor's office chose Sarasota High School to highlight not only the importance of the primary texting law, but also that Florida is going hands-free in both school zones and construction zones. He admitted change will not be easy, but it is on the way. I caught up with the governor as he was leaving that press conference.
You said enforcement is the key in this texting and driving bill. What would you say to police officers who are going to be in charge of enforcing this in the next few years?
I think like when the law takes effect, if they come out and show it's going to be enforced, then I think people are going to get the message. And so, it is going to require resources. But at the end of the day, if people are convinced that they're going to end up with points on their license, a fine, then they're not going to want to do it. And I think the fact that it was a secondary offense meant that people they could still do it without really much of an effect. So hopefully they'll have a plan to do that. That'll send a message that there's kind of a new sheriff in town on this, and our roads will be safer as a result.
So there is a new sheriff in town. Now, this has been a long time coming, and it started off with us going to Tallahassee and basically arguing with lawmakers, trying to get them to pay attention to this when we were told there was no chance it was going to happen. Eventually it did. Yeah. We're going to show you parts of the process of the people we've met along the way, the people who have lost loved ones from texting and driving, and the politicians who were not so happy to see us along the way as well.
Yeah, and it's been a long time coming. And I know this is something that, generally when we do news stories, it impacts our viewing area. This is something where 20 million people are now going to be safer on the road. So when you talk about change and getting results, this really is one of the biggest changes I think that we have been involved with.
Yeah, they looked at thousands of bills this session. I think you'd be hard pressed. There's a lot of very important things, but nothing impacts everybody, whether you drive a car, ride a bike, if you take your kid to school, if you work in a construction zone, hopefully you'll be a little bit safer. I mean, it's a crisis right now. More than 50,000 distracted driving crashes happen every year in our state. We are the second worst in the country. If we could just improve a little bit.
Because we were one of the few states without a law like this.
Yeah,
That's
one
right.
of 4, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you for putting yourself out there. I'm sorry that you had to almost die to get... No, it really... But it makes... what this does, it will make sure that we do a lot of stories where kids don't get to go home to their parents at night. And I feel like it makes that this will happen and more people will get to sleep with their families tonight and be safer because of this law.
I don't think we'll know the huge impact that we've helped bring, but I know it'll be big.
I bet a year from now, when we start looking at the numbers and see the number of crashes and how it has declined, we will absolutely know.
We'll certainly look at that.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. News 6's Nadine Llanos continues our driving change coverage. She joins us live along a busy Orlando road. And Nadine, you spoke to the Orange County Sheriff about how his deputies plan to enforce this.
And Julie, I first want to say that we're just off the road, safe in a parking lot, and I am parked. But yes, Sheriff Mina says that they're going to take this seriously and says it's going to be pretty easy finding distracted drivers when it comes to texting, because he says we've all seen it. They're behind the wheel with the phone up, texting and typing, driving slow, and that's when you'll get pulled over. We're breaking down how it's going to impact you behind the wheel.
Yeah, we're very excited about this law going into effect.
Sheriff John Mina has no doubt this texting while driving bill signed into law this morning will save lives. And no doubt finding a driver texting behind the wheel will be easy.
We've all seen them, driving about 5 or 10 miles slower than everyone else, and maybe distracted by actually texting and driving. And we think it's going to be fairly easy for law enforcement to spot that and cite the drivers.
Which his deputies will be allowed to do come July 1st, when texting while driving becomes a primary offense. That means you can be pulled over if an officer sees you texting, meaning typing into your phone, messaging, or scrolling through social media. You can, however, still use GPS and Bluetooth and still make phone calls. And the way the law reads, you don't have to give officers your phone. But Mina says,
if that were me and I was convinced that I was just using it for navigation, I would tell the officer or the deputy, here, look at my phone. Clearly, I haven't texted anyone.
Then, come January 1st, you will not be able to use your phone at all in school or work zones. There will be a grace period for this one starting October 1st. Both habits of distracted driving, Sheriff Mina admits, is going to be tough to break, but suggests you start doing so now.
We're going to do several details out there to reinforce this message, because that's how important that law enforcement thinks it is.
And it could cost you as well. We broke down the fines for this, and if you're caught texting while driving, the first offense at $30 will be $114 with court fees on that. Now, if you're caught on the phone at all, even up to your ear, or texting in a school or work zone, starting January 1st, that fine, $164. Now, we're going to speak to drivers on the road and get their reaction to the bill today, coming up in my story at 5. Back to you.
Nadine, thank you. Our driving change coverage continues at 4:30. We hear from families who are affected by a driver who was texting. News 6 will share with you some of their stories. Also, to read more about what this law means for you, head to clickorlando.com/gettingresults. We've posted the 5 things you need to know about the new law.